Hey traders, welcome to Quad S Trading. Today we are going to go over the trades of last week. Let me just remove my bookmarks here. There you go. All right, so actually last week was the first week in a very long time, in many months, that is actually a negative week because of one stock, AKN. We ended up shorting it once again this week for loss. So we will be filtering out any stocks that are in the cannabis industry. They just don't usually trade like they do with this whole pump and dump kind of stuff. But I think right now it is on the backside of it, but it's just too much of a trade that we're not going to touch it. So, anyways, let's have a quick look here at our Discord. So in here, our Discord, we do have our scanners. So this is primarily what we trade. So our strategies. For the indicator strategies, which is our VW and our DE, they're very systematic. I trade from my phone while I work. I am self-employed. I do work outside, so I have access to my phone at all times. So essentially, it's so easy that I just wait for these scanners, stocks to pump on my scanner here. Once they go on here, I set my alerts, and then I wait for my alerts to trigger, and then from there I enter the trades. I know where my stop loss is. I know where my exit is based on the strategy that we short. So if you do a VW short, which I will show you one that we actually played today, we exit that at the end of the day. And if we do a either a DE trade, which is the EXTs, the PCTs, and the REM trades, or the DV trade, it's just all of them amalgamated into one indicator. We exit that one at 10:30 the following day. So in our scanners, it gives you all the information that you need to know on how we short. So essentially, it gives you the volume, the country, any keywords. So this is something that we added now that AKN it was a loss for us. It will tell us if it's a cannabis industry, and it will tell you right here. You'll have a nice little yellow circle, and we will not trade those stocks. And also here, the dilution. So for example, CNSP is the one that we trade today. It has dilution. It did an offering, a private placement today, which is great because essentially when those happens, the stock will pump because everybody thinks that this company, is receiving money because it's a good company, but they will dilute near the end of the day. All right, so let's have a look at some trades now. So let's have a look. Okay, so SGMT, this one here popped on our scan on the 27th, and it did what we call a DV strategy. So the DV strategy is very simple to identify. You will see a red circle, an orange circle, you will see a green circle. Once you hit these three circles here, this means don't trade. It will maybe do a trade, and then it needs to do a new high to trigger this green circle, and we enter on the close of the VWAP. So at this right here. So our indicators are awesome. It tells you when to enter, how many shares, and when to exit. So, and everything is customizable. So if you go in our DE indicator here, it will tell you how big your account size is and how big of a trade size you will do. You can also customize your exits, your stop loss, and what alerts you will receive, right? So we can do, you'll get an alert at the entry, at the stop loss, at the cover, which is the following day right now based on your setting here at 10:30. And you can also do what we call a locate stock. So right now I'm doing a trade the pool challenge, so I don't need to locate the shares, which is great. But if you were to turn that on, you would get an alert when this green circle appears. That means locate your shares. We're just waiting for that candle to close below the VWAP right here. So this right here, SGMT, here's your entry, 617 shares at 810, and we cover the following day at 10:30 for a very small loss of $333. Okay, and then if you were to continue on this one here, everybody says, hey, you know what? You should have held longer. It's going to tank down to this current monthly pivot here, but we just don't know what's happening. You'll see stocks that will tank. You'll see stock that will pump. At the end of the day, historically, from what I've back tested this thoroughly, it's red, orange, green, short at the close of the VWAP here, and we cover at the 10:30 mark on the following day. If the overnight borrow fees are not too expensive. If they're too expensive, you cover before the overnight borrow fees happen. Okay. Next, we have HTCO. So this one here triggered what we call a PCT trade, which is based on a percentage pump. So essentially, this here pump to, I don't know, it could be 250%, whatever it is from the 4 a.m. candle. So let's have a look here from here all the way up to right there. It hit 200%, right on the money. So that was so we enter on that candle, and then our stop loss is obviously 7.5% from the high of the day. So we would have been stopped out at 37.41. So this year we would have lost $709. But then it triggered a EXT trade. So green mean EXT, purple is a PCT. And then this year we would entered right here 133 shares at 37.50. And then this is why we cover at 10:30 the following day. It tanked right here at 10:30. So this is your cover. Now, one thing that we, from intuition and from short selling very often, some members held this a lot longer, all the way down to this current monthly pivot here. Why? Because the price is below the EMA 9. So there is absolutely no uptrend at all. That doesn't here, it wicked it, but it never closed above. And look, it just kept tanking. And some people covered it up in the $9, $8 for a massive win. So if, for example, we look at this here, your entry is at 37.50. Let's just go with 37.50. The cover based out of our systematic trading is 16.47. So this is roughly a 56% win. But if you guys would have covered all the way down at the current monthly pivot, it would have been a 77% win. Huge win on this one here. So that's why sometimes, you know what, you trade systematically, which is what I do just to show you guys, hey, you know what, the strategy does work. Cover 1030, huge win. But this one here was even a bigger win on that one there. So that was HTCO. And I'm pretty sure this one, did it pump again today? Yeah, today it did a little bit of pump and come back down. But unfortunately, there was no dilution. So this here would have been a VW trade. But because there's no dilution, it did not pass the stock selection. So this was not a trade for me today. But nonetheless, beautiful trade on this day. ATER. So this one here on the 28th, you know, it pumped roughly 182%. Now, as you can tell, there's no entries. So our indicators are awesome. They will tell you when to enter, right? So this is the candle right here that you enter. 3,984 shares at $1.25. And you cover the following day at 10:30, 106, if the overnight borrow fees are not too expensive, right? And then if you fast forward this one here, it's, you know, it's falling a bit more, but it's coming back up. But eventually this will come back down, because if you look at the 4-hour chart, most of the stocks that we trade are in a nice slide downtrend forever, right? So this year is going to be a pump, and then eventually it'll come back down like this. It's just a matter of time. But we do day trade. We're in and out the same day because we don't want to be stuck in, you know, sometimes we'll do multiple day pumps, but we just want in, out, take the profit, and next day trade. Okay. Then we had BIYA. This is another Chinese. Oh, there's a lot of Chinese stocks in the past couple of weeks. So this one here is what we call a VW2. Now, I do see a lot of labels here. It does look messy, but when you do as a replay, it's very, very simple. Right, this is what's going to look like, and then pop the next candle. One more candle. We just got to wait for that orange, right? So this would, your alert would trigger like this. So it's very simple. You know, you just, I can't do it in replay mode, so I'll show you after. But essentially, a VW2 needs 2 pump, plus the stock needs to have dilution. So if you go into our scanner, we have one made for the VW specifically. So this scanner right here will give you only the shares with dilution. Okay. And if I were to scroll back up on that day, which was the 28th, let's go all the way back to 28th, we'll see it there, right here on the 29th. No, let's go back a little bit more. 28th, right here. I see a lot of overhead supply. So it's got enough dilution for me to do a VW2 strategy on it. Now, once you enter on this trade here, indicator is awesome. It tells you where your stop is, 237, or sorry, 235. So here's pump number 1. Here's pump number 2. Close below the VWAP. That is my entry for 3,048 shares. You can round that off to, you know, 3,050, whatever you like, at 164. And let me just cancel this here. Go back on 28th. So all these labels here, you wouldn't even see them anyways, because once you're in the trade, you don't even look at it. Because a lot of times people will look at it and it'll come back down like this. It'll bounce off the current month pivot. It'll come back up, and they're going to be like, oh my God, I'm scared. I'm going to stop out in case it goes higher. Statistically speaking, this strategy gives you about a 75% win rate. So far, starting from January to today, we're at about a 54% account growth per month if you were to take every trade. So Once you're in this trade here, don't worry about all these labels because you enter, you set your stop loss, and you forget about it until the end of the day. A VW2 you cover at the end of the day at 144 for a nice win of $609. And the VWs, the reason why we cover the next day is because sometimes the following day, half of them will pump, half of them will dump. I just want to play it safe. In, out, same day, no overnight borrow fees. And here's your $609 win. And as you can tell, it pumped again, and now it's tanking. So give it a couple more days or weeks, and this will be right back down to where it started at 76 cents. It will do a reverse split, and it will do the cycle all over again. So that's what we short. So we short stocks with dilution. So what they do is they will ask the SEC to get some shares to dilute, to sell. Once they sell, the price will tank back below the $1 mark. They will do a reverse split to reduce their shares, and most of them will become nano floats or under like 2 million float. And they will ask the SEC for some more shares, and they just do that, rinse and repeat, day in, day out. And same thing, it's a 4-hour chart. This thing is, you know what, only on a downhill. Now, AKN, this is the one that gave us a lot of trouble. And once again, it is a cannabis stock. We should not have shorted it. Some of our members did not short it. I did, just because it did our patterns, and I just want to trade what I teach. But this one here will be excluded from this because it did cannabis trade. And I'm pretty sure the news was something to do with the Schedule 1 drug change for weed anyways. So this was positive news for them. But on the 23rd, right, we had a PCT, which was a loss. We had EXT, that was a loss. The following day, we had a DV, red, orange, green, short, covered. So this one here was a win. So we were able to recuperate one loss, but not the other. And then on the 30th, it did another DV, right, red, orange, green, closed right here, stop out. And now it's on the downtrend, and I'm going to guess that this will start slowly creeping down, and within probably a month or two, this will be right back down to where it was before, because that's what these stocks do, right? If you go to the 4-hour trade, 4-hour chart, you can look at this. It is only on a downtrend. And sometimes, like, for example, it will fill this here because it's been going sideways for a long time here. It will, almost filled it, and then it's going to come right back down, right? Because a lot of people that got in here, who bought it here, they may have held or averaged on the way down. And when it came right back to these levels right here, they just dumped all their shares. And now it's going to come back down. But this one here gave us a hard time. Once again, it is a cannabis stock that we will no longer be shorting because I added the cannabis keywords to our scanners. HCAI, this one here was another loss, but we did a small recovery trade on there. Once again, DV, red, orange, green. We take the shorts at the close below the VWAP, and this indicator tells you, where to get in. And even, for example, if I were to do a replay at this exact candle, it tells you, and once your entry, you set your stop loss at 1273. Right? So it's super easy with our indicators. It tells you exactly what to do. So we got stopped out here. This stop out is actually slightly higher because this is actually a halt. So it does say here that we stopped out at 1273, but the open is 1338. So that's actually where you got to stop out. You would have been stopped out right here at 1338 where it opened. And then over here, we did a recovery trade, and we were able to get out at the following day at 10:30. And this is why, see, this is one of them that pumped up the following day, right? Sometimes they will go down, sometimes they will go up. We don't take the chance. We cover the next day, 10:30. Historically, that is the best return that we backtested. And for this one here, there's no entry here. It wasn't overextended at all, none of that kind of stuff, and there was no dilution. And most of our VW trades are done before noon anyways. We want to play the pre-market into the open to noon, and then the VW is done, but our DV and our EXT, that can be done at any time. And lastly, on that week is XRX. Now this one here is also going to be a no trade because if you look at Dilution Tracker, which is a website that we use for dilution, and we use other ones that we amalgamate all together in XRX. Let's have a look here. institution. So for one, there's not any information on this one stock here, but this is the most important part. Institutional ownership, 79%. So on this trade here, we will now filter institutional ownership. Anything over 50% will be a no trade. Nonetheless, small loss, but this is institutional ownership. And if you look at this, at the volume, like there's quite a bit of volume. But for example, today, what was the stock today? RLYB. Same thing. This here has 50%. I think it was 55% institutional ownership, and like there's no volume, right? So it did do a DV, not a trade, because the institutional ownership is higher, and there's also no volume, and this can be easily manipulated. And it just went sideways all day. So yeah, so we added this two new stock selection rules for the DV and the XD, and SCNP and SCP. That's the VW trade that we did today. Same thing with this one here. There is a lot of labels, but you will only enter on the one. Replay like this, right? Once you enter here, you set your stop loss, and you just have your alert or your an alarm on your phone, 7:30, 7:45, and you start closing your position at the end of the day because it is a VW trade. So those are all of our trades for today. So we log everything. So if I were to go right here into our VW or our VW EXT NDV spreadsheet, everything here is shown. So you will see all of our trades. So on the first week, which is April 1st and 2nd, no, it's 2.54%. And then from the week of the April the 6th, that is a 40% week. This week was huge. Just this day here was what? Let's say 11, 12, 13, 14, let's say 12%-ish. Well, let's add this up here like this, just this one day. 14%, 14.5% just on this one day, which is huge. And then here we have what, 9, almost 10% here. Here we have 4, 5, 5.5%. So this was a huge week. And then on the week of the 13th, we had a 13.6%. On April the 20th, we had a 19.73%. And then this week here is the first week in a very long time that we are a negative on it. And most of it is because of ACAN. Like this. So, and you'll see this one here, our DCA, this one here is a cash positive stock. So I did play half a position on it. But once again, cash positive, it doesn't need to dilute. So sometimes it just manipulates the stock and it just pumps up and then it comes back down later. But we just want to have a very specific stock selection to increase our odds of winning on the trades. So if we look at January, we had a profit factor of 1.8. In February, we had 3.89. If you look in March, 4.36. And in April so far, 2.74. So these strategies are awesome, and they are very systematic. They are so easy to trade because it's just based off the indicators. You don't need to learn candlestick patterns. You don't need to learn any kind of technical analysis. It's literally if it pops in our VW scanner right here, you set your VW alerts, and if it pops in the all scanner, you set the DV alerts, and they're very simple. Like you just go indicator, or sorry, alerts. If it's in the 40 all scanner, or sorry, the 40 all would be this. So you get the EXT NDV alert once per bar. So that means when that bar not close, but when it's below 100, it will give you an alert. That way you can get your trade ready. And when it closes, you enter. If it happens not to close, you just wait for it to happen again. And for the VW alert is very simple. You just go right here like this, VW dot color change. And when this dot red here changes to green, on this candle right here, this is when you get your alert. And when it closes, that is your entry. So anyways, that's it for this. If you have any questions, do go on your Discord. We do have a 7-day trial for our elite traders. So this is our main chat here where we talk about all the stocks that we're playing. So today there was a lot of weird stocks today. SKK pumped, like actually this one halted like 200-300% in one halt. So like for example, Money Mama, she played CLNN, AIOS, RYLB, and HTCO, and they're all holding on it. So far so good. So that's great for her. And then so we talk about trades. all day inside, in and out. So that's our trade. We do have live trading. So we do for the elite traders, you do have live trading at least once a week. But right now we're actually doing all of our live trading in the elite traders. You have our stock analyzer. This is really cool. If you do slash stock, pretty much anything you want, AKN. Let's have that for example. It will analyze the stock for you. It pretty much gives you the same information that would be in the 40 scanners like this, but you can pick whatever you want, right? So if you look at this here, um, it's so the keyword actually needs to be added to the scanner, but it is added here. If I were to do a search for AKAN, let's try and find. Maybe we add it after. Oh, there you go. See, keyword cannabis right here. So this here is not a trade. As soon as you see that cannabis now. So that's it. And once you join, if you like some stuff, if you have some stuff that's useful that you want some feedback, we can incorporate anything in here that people like. Some people like volume, so we added it in there. Some people like the country, so we added it in there. So everything can be changed based on what you guys want. And one thing that we're working on right now also is the alerts. So essentially, when a stock pumps in the VW All Scanner, I set my alerts right away. But sometimes I'm working and I can't keep up with all the alerts. So we have a channel here that will give you all of the alerts. So for example, AKAN entry at 40.24, and that was the last stop out that we had. But we will have incorporated in here like an entry plus the stop loss. So everything will be in the scanners. That way, if you're not really following the stock market or the things and you're kind of like trading on the go, this would be very helpful for you guys. So anyways, that's it for this live session. Like I said, if you have any questions, head over to our Discord. You can open a support ticket. If you just go down here, you will see the ticket section. And it goes directly to me. We answer all the questions that you have. And we also have a 7-day 7-day free trial for the elite traders, which gives you access to our scanners, analyzers, the live trading, and all this kind of cool stuff. Anyways, that's it for me, and we'll see you in the next one.